Georgia is hiding something from you. And, of course, when I speak on Georgia, I only speak realistically with what I know. And today I'll go over exactly why Georgia is hiding something insanely important to know and how it impacts your investment and your ability to hire in the Republic of Georgia. Hello and welcome back to the Traveling Report. Today we're going over why Georgia, the country, of course, in the Caucasus region, is slowly becoming indebted. But it's not showing up on public GDP, and it's not showing up as public debt. Of course, many people will not understand this video at all. However, if you stay until the end, I will do my best to make it as simple as possible and make sure you understand exactly how this is happening. So, when I speak on Georgia, the first thing that comes up often when I say the economy is doing poorly is that their public debt is low, their GDP is growing, and people are increasingly becoming wealthier. However, what people don't realize is that private and PPP loans, so public-private partnership loans, are increasing at massive rates. If you look at the debt obligations of private individuals, they have never gone away. And in fact, they've only accelerated, especially since 2012. The reason why Georgia has these mass debt obligations on a private scale is to shield public finances and to shield, realistically, showing that they are indeed taking on more debt than they can service. As I lived here, oftentimes I would really look into the growth and be like, yeah, there's no way this growth is happening organically. There's no way. And I would look to the debt-to-GDP ratio just as others have. And you can look at my channel. Many people have commented saying, oh, look at the debt-to-GDP. Look at the debt-to-GDP. Okay, great. Let's look at it. It's 36%. Now let's look at the private debt. Over 100% of GDP. Over 100%. And so that's unsustainable. And of course, when we look at public-private partnerships, you are looking at debt from China, debt from Singapore, debt from Dubai. And most of this debt, it's not denominated in lari. It's not denominated in currencies that they control. It's denominated in US dollars. Why is it denominated in US dollars? Because they don't want the people to have any ability to manipulate the currency to make it worth less. And realistically, the US dollar is entrenched in the global financial system. And so, with this being the case, what do you have? You have an economy, very small economy, realistically speaking, of 3 million folks who now know that they are taking on increasing debts. They are funding GDP through debt and not really structurally changing. And this is dangerous, extremely dangerous for Georgians living here and also for anyone putting money into the economy. Now, of course, foreign direct investment in Georgia has been historically high over the past 20 years due to Mikhail Saakashvili's reforms, which, of course, when you look at the reforms, they cannot be unwound, let's say, because they would need a supermajority or 75% of seats within the parliament of Georgia. So, essentially, you get what is a structurally very pro-business country. And that structural pro is great until you realize that also many of the politicians, many of the people that supposedly champion this reform are also using it to fund public-private partnerships that are failing. They are funding projects which are failing. Look at the hydroelectric plants in near Martvili, right? That got shut down because Georgians didn't want it. And so essentially what you get is a very poor financial setup for people living here. You get a very poor financial setup for especially the citizens of the country, people who were born here. And you get a very poor government finance setup, as instead of denominating their debt in public means, where of course you can devalue and debase the currency, they are instead making their obligations in US dollars, in Emirati dirhams. They're making it in yuan, right? So they have no control over whether or not their economy can pay that back. Because if their debt obligations, which right now PPP is about 40 to 55% of public spending here in Georgia, 40 to 55% would put you on par in terms of debt obligations. Of course, they are facilitating these PPP loans through debt, predominantly through people who understand the tendering process, which are invariably Ivanishvili's allies. What they get is something that looks great on paper, right? Looks amazing on paper. Looks amazing to the IMF. And so the IMF gives some loans. But they've stopped. Why have they stopped? Because of exactly what I'm saying. And so, if you're looking to get into understanding Georgia's economy, and you are looking to understand exactly how it is structured to then invest, this is where I would start. And of course, I will be providing more videos on how Georgia's structural issues are playing out. Additionally, I'm going to Armenia here soon, and I will compare the two and how they operate. However, that said, I am going to be posting 3 times a day on these sorts of topics on globalization, internationalization, second citizenship, second residencies. So if you're excited for that, feel free to subscribe. If you enjoyed this video, feel free to like it. If you really enjoyed this video, feel free to share it. If you are looking for one-on-one consulting to protect yourself against these sort of schemes and these sorts of programs, feel free to reach out on the Calendly link. There's a 15-minute consulting package, absolutely free, down in the description below. You can click through to the Calendly link and book your call today. With that said, this has been the Traveling Report, signing off.